This is a Gear Network production.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy, Mr. Perez, and you're listening to the Better Live Than Dead podcast, brought to you exclusively on Gear Network. Listen in.
How's it going, everybody? We are here in Tom's garage.
Cheek to Vegas, baby.
Cheek to wasted. Hashtag cheek to wasted.
No
This is the BLTD Megacast. Hashtag BLTD Megacat. What I'm going to do right now is we're going to go around the table. I'm Ryan Wolfe, at Wolfe BLTD on Twitter.
Mike Straw, at Mike Straw Wright.
Husaria from Building Buffalo.
Chris from Two in the Box.
Brayton Wilson from WGR Sports Radio and also BLTD.
Noted jerk at Joe Yerdon.
Just to let you know, you gotta either sit up closer or put just slam the microphone in his face.
I will just shout from over here.
Okay, we'll just talk like this. The rest of the show, just yell as loud as we can.
That or do the whole Bill Hader from Saturday Night.
What do you think about this? It's funny. That was on last night.
All right, so essentially what we're going to do here is we're just going to talk a lot about hockey because that seems to be the right idea.
Hokey?
July.
It seems right. I want to start off with development camp. Just go around the table. Anybody who wants to talk, obviously my side of the table, I've got the microphone. Brayton has a microphone. You want to talk? Just start talking. We'll put the microphone in your face. I guess no one wants to talk then.
Crickets.
Getting there.
Thomas takes the microphone.
So,
Jack Eichel's the boss, right?
yes, Jack Eichel is the biggest bust since Alexander Daigle, according to the fans that were at the game on Friday. These assholes decided to boo Eichel just because he was having an off game. Well, let me tell you, it's just practice. Practice. Who cares? Talk to me in May when the year's going to be over and we can review then. But for right now, all these fans that boo Jack Eichel need to sit down and shut the fuck up.
Wow. Look at guys, we're not even 2 minutes into the podcast and we've already got the first F-bomb. Look, I told Tom, I said you can swear, but don't go crazy with it. I got a feeling he might set a record for most F-bombs in a podcast ever. I don't know what the record is, but I'm sure he'll set it. I guess who are some guys that really stuck out in development camp this week and really impressed you guys?
Oh, impressed?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Evan Rodriguez probably was the best one out of all the new ones. Reinhardt stood out, but Rodriguez, the way he looked this week, you can kind of tell he wasn't only good last year at BU because of Eichel. Simple as that. I mean, he has the wherewithal on the ice. He has the vision. He has the skill. He's going to be good for Rochester. I mean, you can tell. You can just see it.
Yeah, I agree there. Rodriguez was good. A couple other ones. Max Willman, thought he was awesome.
Stole mine.
Oh, I did. Sorry. And the other one.
That's been. I was sitting next to Brayton at the camp today, and he's like Max Woolman. He's really good. And like every time something good happens, he goes, "See, I told you. Look at that. Watch him. He's watch him take the shootout. He's gonna be really good. He scores." And I'm like, that's your dude. And he's like, "I told you, man. He's gonna be good."
He was every time somebody did something in close around the net where they stick handle creatively, do something wacky. You look up and you're like, "Who the hell was that guy?" And it was Willman every time. I mean, he scored an impressive goal each day of camp, each day of practice, whatever. He was a surprise to me, and the other guy was William Carrier. I saw him. You see him a little bit last year in Rochester. I was like, all right, maybe this guy's got something, but he had it. He had it going, obviously, in the scrimmage game, but he looked pretty good all week.
And to go off of Joe's point with Willman, last year he was really good in his first development camp. Really made some impressions, and he wasn't even as big as he is now. I think now he's 6 foot and 185, 190 pounds. When he came into development camp last year, he was only 5'9", 5'10", maybe 165 pounds. So he's built up a little bit of size. He plays at Brown. Only had 3 points in 30 games this year, but I mean, to come back and do exactly what he did last year and do it again this year, it was really impressive. In my books, at least, he was impressive once again and just stood out to me, at least. I don't know how everybody else feels, but I like it.
I'm just thinking. I was gonna say. I'm just sitting here, trying to think of some Because development camp kind of really, it is what it is. You see the kids play, and some guys are impressive, some guys aren't. Like with what I don't know. I'm just gonna call you Tom because that's what I call you because that's your name, your government name. You don't have to respond to it. It's okay. What? Let's make your fake name. I don't know. What do you want me to call you?
Just call me
Tim.
Okay, Tom.
Oh, Tim Thielen.
Like Tom points. Tom points out that people freak out about like Jack Eichel. And you think about it, it's just a week. It's a couple practices and a couple scrimmages, and people freak out about it. It's not that big of a deal. But then again, you look at guys like what Brayton pointed out or Joe points out, guys that have done really good. You kind of have to keep it into perspective that it's just a development camp. Some guys are going to look really good, some guys are going to look really bad. That's how things work out.
Drake Kugula scored a hat trick in the prospect scrimmage last year, and he didn't get an invite this year. Yeah, right. And he stole the show. I think they had one actual Sabres prospect scored in the scrimmage last year. The other 4 or 5 goals were scored by invites. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, to your point, you got to keep it in perspective. And Eichel blew the doors off today. Yeah. He was phenomenal. Absolutely. So, and it was 3-on-3 small area games, more skill than anything else. But he was terrific. So, I mean, it's got to be the big picture you got to be looking at. So.
Yeah, but Eichel didn't win today.
Hold on.
Here's the thing. How are people after BU didn't win the NCAAs? People had the same kind of some people had the same kind of attitude. Oh, he can't win
because Anthony Florentino's a better prospect than Jack Eichel. That's why that.
I'll tell you what. When Eichel
he was good this week. Yes, he was.
When Jack Eichel lost in the championship game, I remember staying in the press box. I think Joe was around. There was a couple other people around. We just stood there and just like awkwardly watched Jack Eichel crying on the ice, and we're like, I hope we don't get used to this because this is not cool.
I just remember Lindy Ruff's Ty posting a Vine of him crying, and just all the caption was emo Jack Eichel.
Okay, well, I don't want to get off track here. I want to stay on track. The question I have for you guys before we move off of development camp, how impressive? Now, like I said, keeping it in perspective, obviously because it's development camp, but how impressive has Sam Reinhart been this entire week in your opinion?
He made it more interesting when it came to training camp. I mean, he looked like a guy who went through it already, who has more experience. He looked over the camp thing better than Eichel at a lot of the time. But it's a guy who's been there, done that, knows what to expect from that camp. With training camp coming up, now it comes where he could very well cement himself as a number 3 center. A lot of people thinking, well, what do you do? Do you move him to wing, whatever? At the camp this week, he looked like a guy who will be a center. He looks stronger. He looks faster. He just looks more confident than what he did at this time last year.
I think with his performance, I think before camp, a lot of people were thinking like, well, maybe he starts in the AHL, maybe this is how it's going to be. But I think for him, it's I think if he carries this over into training camp and he plays this confident, he plays this way, he's going to carve out a space for himself on this team. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be at center because you're looking at O'Reilly, Eichel, Girgensons, Legwant. You're not going to have Reinhart centering a fourth or third. I don't think you want him necessarily in the third line, but maybe you plug him in on a line with O'Reilly and maybe with Kane or Molson. Molson. Yeah, maybe Molson's with Eichel. Whatever. Play the roulette wheel with the lines if you want to, but I think for him, he plays this way. He plays this confident and this smart. He's absolutely going to be on this team to start the season, anyways. He might be able to use some time in the AHL, but he's going to be. I have a lot more confidence in what he's going to become now, based on before than I thought before this camp happened.
I do want to note that he was looking really good on his skates, which was a concern, especially with some media people. But I mean, like Joe said, I don't think maybe this year we're gonna see we can see results, but the future looks good for Reinhart. I mean, seems like he's coming up really strong. But if you can keep it going, like we see him regularly next year, I think. But this year will be like AHL, sometimes the NHL, because we're so crowded anyway with centers and put him on the wing. I'm kind of like, I don't want to put him on the wing yet, but
I mean, he says he's willing to play any position. So I mean, if he can transition Even defense. He said he's played defense once or twice. Exactly.
Yeah, put him in goal. Put him in goal. Let's see how good he really is.
I don't know if I can trust him in the goal.
Well, the thing about it is I feel very. We're waiting for we've got a show off on our hands. Too Fast, Too Furious driving by the house. I don't necessarily. For Sam Reinhart, I feel like he's the type of guy that could easily transition over to right wing, and it wouldn't be too much of a subtraction on his talent. I mean, I think his game will transfer over to right wing very, very well, and that's one thing you have to worry about. Like a lot of people will sit there and they'll have like the silly season with okay, we'll put Zemgus Girgensons on left wing, or put this guy in right wing, or put someone at center, or this or that. You have to think about it too. You can't just take a talented guy like Sam Reinhart and say, "Oh, you put him on wing because that's what they need him for." If his talent doesn't translate, you can't put him there. So you have to be very careful with that. Like with Zemgus Girgensons, I look at that and I think to myself, we're not getting too off topic, but thinking about it, and I go, if he's good at center, keep him at center. Because if his talent doesn't translate to wing, don't just stick him there because you need a wing.
Look at Grigorenko. We really mishandled that.
Oh, Grigorenko was horrible.
I actually think that Reinhart and Girgensons are actually kind of two good case studies in a sense, because Girgensons has shown the ability to play wing, just as Ryan O'Reilly has shown the ability to play wing as well. And if it allows them to put Reinhart in a better situation to succeed, if he's playing on the right wing with Evander Kane on the opposite side, and he's whether it's Eichel or O'Reilly between them, just as with Girgensons, if he's playing left wing with Johan Larsson at center, just because that's how things fit together in terms of how the roster plays out. I mean, the fact that they have two guys in particular that have shown the ability to slide to wing from center, outside of the flexibility, it's certainly promising. And knowing that they don't have to worry about Reinhart, they don't have to start him in Rochester because what he played two of his 3 games at wing. He said the one thing he pointed out was that he felt very comfortable at wing. I mean, it was only a couple games, but if you have a guy that talented who, if his game transfers over to wing, that solves your wing problem. I mean, because right
absolutely, because if there's anything the Buffalo Sabres need, it's right wingers, and talented right wingers are that. I mean, they could go out and get anybody to fill right. Just hey, look at we'll pay you, play right wing, whatever. Shut up. Yeah, exactly. You can just fill any hole you need, but you want talent there because, as we've learned, watching teams like Chicago, you need to have a deep team, not only a good top 2 lines, but you have to have a deep 3rd and 4th line. And if you just go out and get whoever, it's not going to work itself out. So if you get I don't know essentially where. I know like when Eichel's ready to be the number 1 center, O'Reilly will move or whatever. There's a lot of moving parts right now, but it's almost a good problem to have at this point with guys like Sam Reinhart. And
then you look 2 years ago and they had 0 centers.
Yeah, you've got guys, you've got time to figure it out, but then again, you don't want to develop Reinhart too long as a center and then go look at, okay, we should have done this a couple of years ago. We're going to move to wing now. So I think it's good that they're kind of trying to figure out now where they want to put him so they can develop him solely at that spot. So when he's ready to go, he's ready to go.
Well, you said it's a good problem to have now, and I think this could probably go into the next segment about free agents and the draft. But think Ryan, you like to say top picks don't matter.
Top picks don't matter.
And in this case, look at the Blackhawks. They did get top picks, but they got depth, and what they can do eventually in the future.
I don't care what the Blackhawks do. The top picks still don't matter.
They could. The Sabres are going to be a continuous move. It's going to be a continuous project to win the Cup, and I could see some of these guys we're talking about today. They're probably going to be gone in the future.
I've got a real hot take for you, Tom.
What's that?
It'd be really cool if the Sabres drafted a guy with a 69th overall pick and he became a superstar.
Nice.
Hashtag hot takes.
But I mean, they still have needs. They still need a goalie. They still need D, and they're not going to get that. I think. Sex jokes. Anyways,
Things are taking a right turn. Keep it on track.
So, I think this year you just move along, but in the future you need to start looking at who can we get in the future to help us, not this season but next season.
Well, look, I don't want to, and I want to keep things on track here. I'm trying to. I want to go back a little and just talk about the draft and about free agency really quick. I know the draft, you can sit there and say winners and losers, whatever. But I guess really at this point, what did the Buffalo Sabres do right? Obviously, the Ryan O'Reilly trade, that was a big deal. You bring him in and all that stuff. But what was most impressive to you guys with what they did on draft day and then what they did in free agency so far? I know there's still a lot to be done, but what was most impressive to you guys?
I like that drafting of that Jack Eichel character. I think he might be big.
Okay.
But no, to me, the biggest thing that stood out
Before the podcast.
You should have kept the microphones on.
But no, the biggest thing I really take away, and I may be one of the only who view this way, might not be, I love what Murray has done with the team in Rochester.
Yeah.
From a talent standpoint. Like, you knew what he was going to do. You kind of had an idea what he was going to do for the NHL team, but you really didn't know about the Amherst. And with the moves he made on the first 2 days of free agency, I mean, it's all about getting the Amherst. They need a coach still, but the team itself should be head and shoulders better than what we saw last year. Also, I mean, the call-ups all the time kind of killed him.
I think we're going to take a break for just a second because Brayton has to leave. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I think, Mike, I'm going to put you where Brayton is, and then we're going to pause real quick, and then we'll start back up. It's too bad. I'm running the show here. I trust you with a microphone.
I'm usually.
I feel like
Ryan's,
no, because I know what's going to happen.
Man for podcasting.
I try. That's why.
Unfortunately,
That's
next to Joe.
what's wrong with Joe?
Week long we've had to sit next to each other.
I mean,
Then you've got like a 3-month span where you can take off.
Okay, good point. Won't be till September.
Yes, exactly.
All right, hold on 1 second, guys. We'll be right back.
Hey, Don, how's it going?
Living the dream. I'm actually just getting ready to do this commercial.
Oh, you mean the commercial where I tell our listeners to tune into Gear Network every week to listen to our show, Get Ready America? That one?
Yeah, John, that's the one.
They can also listen to us talk about news, sports, whatever's on our minds, that.
And a little what's on our listeners' minds, but they're just too nice to say it.
Well, that, Don, is a real humdinger.
Humdinger.
Come join us this and every week for Get Ready America exclusively on the Gear Radio Network.
And the Gear Network app.
A successful product does not become a successful product on its own. Look at the Gear Radio Network, for example. We're a prime example. We had a lot of help getting here, and we can help you get where you want to go to. Advertising rates are very low to start off here on the Gear Radio Network. Visit us at gearnetwork.com. Click on the contact link to send us an email, and we can work out the details. Again, advertise your product across all of the forums at a low rate here on the Gear Radio Network.
You are listening to Better Live Than Dead.
I think we're back. Talking to the microphone real quick, Mike.
Talking in the microphone.
Excuse me. This is how we do things here at Better Live Than Dead, as you guys should have noticed by now. We kind of just do things on the fly because, as I tell people, I'm not a producer. I don't know what I'm doing. I just fake it. But I do want to say real quick, guys, we have not yet confirmed, but Olli Jokinen is not a Buffalo Sabre. We have not confirmed yet. Tom, do you want to say something about this?
Confirmed.
Oh, he has confirmed it. Olli
It's
Jokinen.
1 year, like what, 1.4 million?
$69,000 is what I heard, actually, yeah. With
That's
a note.
about 17 times more than my annual salary doing this. Maybe about 69 times.
Okay,
more
well,
than my
we're
annual
back.
But keep in mind that he's not a professional, but he was once an intern.
Wait, Chris, weren't you an intern with the Sabres once? So you must have some insight.
I was actually a GA.
You must have twice the insider knowledge he
You can't
has.
have twice of zero because it's still zero. That's the thing.
I'm trying to give you credit here.
Science says that is correct.
Yeah.
Also,
I'm saying Sabres Insider has zero sources.
Well, I was going to say right now.
He's an intern who maintained all of his content. Oh no, he's a parody now.
Parody. Oh, he's a fake. He's a fake. Yeah.
I'm actually a parody of myself, so.
Well, yeah. I mean, Tom is, ladies and gentlemen, for those who cannot see us right now,
Thoughts.
for the everybody who cannot see the five of us right now, Tom is currently drinking a beer with a bicycle helmet on.
While wearing a Quebec Nordique shirt.
This is a good way to get back into the podcast, by the way, because we took a break. Some music played. You'll hear it when you go back through post production stuff, whatever. But and I think the photo will be tweeted out here shortly. Yeah, she's very nice. She's very helpful with the podcast. Maybe that makes her an insider. I'm not sure because she's helping
an
out with the
intern.
podcast. She's an intern, so she must know.
She has as many sources as Sabres Insider has.
Okay. Okay. Well.
Hockey.
Before we hit the break, we were kind of hitting the boring stuff, the draft talk, the free agency talk. But what I want to ask you guys now is I just want to kind of go into how How do you guys feel about the overall direction of where the team is headed this offseason in terms of how they were before the draft to how they are right now with it being July 12th? How do you guys feel about the overall direction of the team at this point in time?
Well, you can't help but like it, right?
Absolutely.
You look at last year, their first line, which was at any given point, Ennis, Gergensen, Molson, Gianta was up there, was more or less would be their third line, depending on which point in the season you looked at it, in terms of kind of how things are going to play out moving into training camp. But now you add Ryan O'Reilly, Evander Kane, Jack Eichel to the mix.
By the way, I must add out really quick. Is it a jersey foul? And I don't know what the hell's going on here with the microphones. Just do me a favor, talk in the microphone real quick. Just
talk. Microphone working. Maybe because this is hanging off the edge of the table.
Hold on 1 second. Or try it again.
Talking. Is it working? Yes, no, maybe.
Doesn't look like it. Maybe it's because I'm talking too close to it. I don't know. We'll give it a shot. But I went to the Sabre store today and I saw that they were selling. It's just that the levels are really weird. Like your levels are really low and my levels are really high.
What about this? Better?
Yeah. I'm just not sure if you're close enough. It's okay. We'll make it work. It'll sound good on the computer. I just get freaked out by the levels here. I went to the Sabre store today. And is it a jersey foul that the Sabres are selling a Evander Kane third jersey from last year, although he never played?
Oh, yeah.
All day.
And they have like
That's super weird.
They have like 15 or 20 of them on the shelf.
Because technically he never wore it.
No, clearance. All the third jerseys are clearance.
That's really odd.
But I walked in and I'm like,
I saw a Kane third. Someone was wearing one.
Yeah, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, that never happened.
Maybe, yeah.
That never happened.
I don't think it's a foul. I mean, if you're a purist, it's not a foul.
Sorry, but he never. But reminder, he never played a game this year for the Sabres in the third jersey.
But he signed with the Sabres. He couldn't
play.
He couldn't play. We're going to disagree here.
So I guess
what the Sabres have done is they've taken the overrun of Steve Ott third jersey from the year before, changed the nameplate to
spent
hopefully
a quarter
name
of the
them.
price and threw a nameplate on.
Yeah, that's probably what's happening. Absolutely. I would qualify it as a quasi foul.
Okay, that's fair.
Given that he was on the roster,
but never played. Yeah,
but he never played a game. So
I mean, if that's the case, where the hell's my Ryan Vins jersey?
I saw Ryan Vins jersey on the street yesterday, actually on Friday.
Jesus.
Those are a thing.
But I'll tell you what. Hashtag we love hockey. Yeah. Hashtag we know hockey.
Hashtag hockey heaven.
Sabres are the only team that
hashtag hockey IQ.
Their emergency backup.
Hashtag hockey IQ. I told you guys I'm really bad at asking questions, so you've got to help me out. You've got to help me.
We're talking about the future of the team then.
There you go. Take this over,
Mike. We
Mike.
talked about it before we even went on. You look at this team compared to Boston, who everybody seems to view as Buffalo's biggest rival for some reason.
I'm going to cut you off here because I think I know where you're going with this from the conversation. But I guess I'm just going to jump into this idea now.
Yeah, take it over. I'll just take it back.
You're welcome. Well, I have. Look at Mike. I sent you the damn list. You know what we're supposed to talk about today. You're overlapping on an idea. I'm trying to stay on track.
I told you, I'm sabotaged.
There's a door there. You can walk out. You can leave.
Sure you slide the door.
Just slide the door because if the cats get out, you're in trouble.
Oh, you're in big trouble.
What with the Sabres being poor the last 2 years? What is a realistic outlook for the Sabres next year? Because I mean, even if they win 10 more games and get 20 more points, they still only have like 75 points.
I can't be mad if.
All right, we're back.
Yeah, you need Ryan.
Something.
You need Ryan Wolfe. You need to have like 6.
Ryan at WOLF. By the way, I don't know. The takes got too hot there. It appears the microphone stopped working. I don't know where we lost out, and I'm not too worried about going back and listening to it. We're talking about Colorado and Calgary. You can go with the Calgary point.
I remember at the beginning of the season, I was looking at teams that may threaten the tank, basically, for lack of a better term. And I saw Calgary beat Chicago. It was 2-1 or 1-0, and Jonas Hiller made like 54 saves. And I looked at it and I thought, well, the Flames are going to be a threat for this tank. And they went on and they did that for the entire season, and they managed to snag a playoff spot and have some success. But but to your points about Calgary and Colorado, do you want the 1 year success or do you want the long term success? And I would certainly prefer the latter. That's for sure. So,
I think before the O'Reilly trade, the expectations were, Sabres are going to finish bottom 3. Sabres they're going to be terrible. Now with this O'Reilly trade, a lot of people are like, especially the media, are like, oh, Buffalo has the potential to go to the playoffs. And the problem we're going to see, I bet you in the beginning of the season, the expectations are going to be sky high, and people are going to be like, oh, the Sabres are going to be back in the playoffs. The Sabres aren't going to be in the playoffs this year. Maybe next year, but the thing is, you have all this new talent, you have new coaching, you have to let it all gel together. Right now, playoffs are completely unrealistic.
That's how I feel. I mean, like I said, 24th. It would be funny though. They finish 24th, 23rd, 22nd, and then that's the year they win the lotto.
Well, look at that's probably how it'll work out. Austin Matthews will be a Buffalo Sabre. You heard it here first on BLT Megacat. Okay, we're back. Again, this is like the 5th time we've had a problem. I have a terrible computer. Everybody knows this. You've listened to the podcast before. You lose a lot of stuff, but at this point, it's like a press conference. Don't talk until you have the microphone. If you do, nobody cares what you say. Well, we probably care what you say, but Joe, you were making a point, so I'm going to hand. You remember what you're talking about?
I think so.
Okay, I'm gonna hand the microphone back to you. Whatever you want to talk about. If it's cats, just go for it. We'll go with it.
It's about hockey. I'll steer away from the cat talk for now. I'll leave that.
Cats on skates.
Got to pause. Is that as cool as squirrels on water skis?
That's a good question. Sharks with laser beams.
Oh, see,
heads.
yeah.
We're gonna do an animal draft at this point. Yeah.
Well, it's I'll go back to what I was gonna say before, but it's nowhere near as cool as cats or sharks or squirrels on water skis. So, we were talking about Sabres playoffs, like people thinking they might be a playoffs.
The question was, what were the expectations, the realistic expectations? Thank you. What are the Joe? I'll ask you. Like we're podcasting together. Joe. Real quick, Joe. At Joe Yerdon, hashtag no to jerk. The question I have for you, sir. I want to know if
beer has kicked in.
If maybe. What are the Buffalo Sabres' realistic expectations for next season?
I think realistic is shooting between 10th and 12th in the East. I think that's a realistic landing spot right now. Because you look around the East and you see teams that are not going to be very good next year. Like Toronto's not going to be very good. I mean, Babcock's going to get the best out of them, but they're probably not going to be very good.
They picked up a lot of guys that are good with like the hero charts.
Oh yeah.
The possession numbers are good, but you can only get so much out of those guys.
Yeah. I mean, you're probably gonna get some better possession out of them, but raw talent wise, I mean, JVR is your best player. JVR and Morgan Riley are probably your 2 best players there. So, Jonathan Bernier, if he has a bounce back season, if he can carry him like he did a couple of years ago, then that's cool. But Toronto probably going to be worse. Boston's going to come back down. I mean, they were a 96-point team out of the playoffs last year. You have to think they're going to come back down. Carolina's going to be bad again. And so those points have to go somewhere else. And it's not unrealistic to say that Buffalo is going to be a lot better next year. I think you look at it like, I don't know, maybe in the 80-point range. I think that's a realistic expectation. So, you aim for that, and I think that's where you want to go, but the defense needs work. The defense needs a lot of work. Carlo Koliakovo is a nice, helpful pickup, but he's not going to be your breadwinner. He's not your top 4 guy. You got your 3 steady guys, and then you got a bunch of guys where you're just kind of like, well, I hope they have really good years.
Before you continue, I have to point this out. As we know, Carlo Koliakovo has he said on Sabres Hockey Hotline, he goes, I had injuries earlier in my career, so that stigma follows me. But someone tweeted after Carlo Koliakovo signed with the Sabres and said, Carlo Koliakovo, I apologize. If anyone knows who it is, I'll give them the credit. If you tell me, I'll give them the credit for the tweet. But they said Carlo Koliakovo signs a 1-year deal with the Sabres, subsequently falls down the stairs, out 4 to 6 months with undisclosed injury. Because that's essentially been his career. But the question, I guess, and I'll pass the mic around the table at this point, but I know offensively the Sabres are kind of barring a few moves here or there, small moves, they're kind of set. But defensively, what do you guys think the Buffalo Sabres are going to do in the next couple weeks, either via free agency or via trade? Who wants to stick first? Tom, and then we'll go around.
Like I said before, I think with the O'Reilly trade, and it's obvious that we want to win now. I don't agree with that, but I feel we should just wait it out and see what we can get next year. But right now, they're probably going to sign a guy for a 1-year deal and just stick to it, someone dependable. Where's Odia going to go? He's not going to. Chicago can't afford him, and Buffalo's in the running for him, but something's holding back from coming here. So
Chicago, he wants to go back.
He wants to, but it's like
winning 3 Stanley Cups.
Hey, listen, you got your cups. Go somewhere else now.
So I am certainly on the Oduya bandwagon. I'm by no means opposed to Johnny Oduya. I've had 2 reservations on Oduya. One was his age, related to coming to a rebuilding project as far along as the Sabres are in it. He was 34 years old, correct? 33, 34 years old. I mean, getting to a point where even if they give him a 4-year deal, he's 37 at the end of it. I mean, that's...
Sorry to cut you off. The question that I have for you too is that, like, looking at it, because the thing I've kind of attached myself to, I'm trying to be a fancy stats guy, but the hero charts are like, they're not good. For dummies, it's perfect stuff. So you might be able to, for a year or two, push him into a bigger role, but at some point in time he's going to be a bottom pairing defender. So where would Johnny Oduya fit in the Buffalo Sabres kind of overall defensive plans?
And that's actually the other reason I was kind of iffy on the thought of him, was simply because I thought he fit better in a third pairing role.
Which is what the hero charts kind of point.
Right. Put him in a third pairing role and they go and find someone to play in that second pairing, that 3-4 neighborhood, perhaps. One guy I love is Chris Tanev. He would not be easy to obtain by any stretch. The Canucks just locked him up long term at like 4.25, so he's got a pretty friendly deal. But they traded Kevin Bieksa. They're without a doubt married to Chris Tanev at this point. He's not a player that they're going to just say, like, oh yeah, give us Marcus Foligno in a 3rd-round pick. We'll happily give you Chris Tanev, because that's just not going to happen. But Tim Murray is shown to be aggressive. Tim Murray is shown to be ballsy when it comes to making deals. Going after a young guy like Tanev, going after another younger, effective second pair level defenseman, I think is what I would certainly prefer him to do over signing Oduya, and even over signing Christian Ehrhoff, who I would not mind seeing come back to Buffalo.
My thought on the whole thing is, if they don't get something done by today's Sunday when we're recording this, by next Sunday, this time next week, I think you're set with the roster until camp starts to close, and then when players when every team has to be under the salary cap or at the salary cap, that's when you're going to see him go get somebody via trade or waiver. Murray talked about it. He's kind of had an idea of who's going to be on the waiver wire. Yeah, he's kind of had an idea of who's going to be on the waiver wire. So if it's not Oduya, I think they just wait until October. It's no big deal. He's not. They're not in a rush. He even admitted it.
Apparently, Tom's neighbor's yelling at Tom.
Oh, we're gonna have like neighborhood breakdown now.
I thought he was gonna go out and like F you the lady or something.
Chris mentions Chris Tanev, and Vancouver loves him, whatever. Yeah. But it made me think of another guy that they've talked about the last couple of years in trades, and it's Alex Edler. Oh yes. And to me, he's high priced. Yeah. So, but Buffalo's way under the cap. Well, not way under, but they're under enough so that they could do something like that. Maybe that's a guy you'll look at in a trade if Oduya doesn't work out. Because it seems pretty obvious that Oduya is the guy that they're chasing after. But if he doesn't want to come here, fine. I mean, I understand if he doesn't want to put up with a year, maybe 2 of losing, because he spent enough time in Atlanta to know what losing's all about. So I can't blame him. Once you get a taste of the cup, you don't want to come back to the pack. But if you're looking at trade guys, Vancouver's a weird team. You don't know what Jim Benning's going to do, but maybe Alex Edler's the kind of guy because he plays. He's good offensively. He's very physical. He's the kind of guy you want to kind of plug into that role.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't admit to your season ticket holders that you could have traded Ryan Miller, but you didn't because, that's how you run it. That's how you run a team right there. Go, yeah, we could have traded our most expensive goaltender off of our team, but we didn't do it, so no big deal. But just thinking about it, because, I mean, right now the defense is kind of the sticking point for fans because, as I mentioned, the forwards are kind of figured out. I mean, unless they try to trade. I mean, I know the thought among guys like us, or people like us, I should say, that maybe take like a guy like Marcus Foligno and maybe turn him into a better defenseman in a package. Wouldn't be the only guy you deal, but you would deal him in a package with someone else. Do you think it's paramount for them to go out this year and get a top 4 defenseman or a top 2 pairing, or do you think they could maybe go and pay a guy like Oduya, overpay a guy like Oduya to come to Buffalo? Say bring your experience, bring your championship experience to Buffalo, because obviously we know in free agency that's you're a champion, you're a winner, we're going to pay you more. Or do you think they can just sit back and wait a couple years to get that guy?
I mean, if Murray really believes and Bausma really believe that they have the talent to compete for playoffs this year, go out and get somebody. I don't think they believe that. I think they're more realistic than what a lot of fans hope they are. They probably know they're not in a position to make a postseason run this year. Why go out and spend more money than what you need to? Why make a trade and get rid of somebody you don't want to get rid of just to get a guy who might be with you 2 years and then you get gone? Because the hope is, obviously, you want McCabe to blossom into a top guy. Ristolainen, I mean, Bogosian, you're fine when it comes to getting somebody in 2 years from now when you're really ready to make a run. Who knows who's going to be available? Somebody can come up anytime. There's no need. You can go in with what they have now, and they'll probably finish the same place that they'll finish if they were to go and get an Oduya.
Nobody wants the microphone.
Nobody can follow that. No one can follow that.
Mike Straw has broken the podcast. Apparently, everyone just kind of sits there and just looks around and goes,
I have a thought.
Okay, Chris is going to say
Because I'm finally right about something.
One thing I wanted to bring up, and basically all of you guys can chime in on it because you guys were all there this week, but particularly after Friday, where Jake McCabe was sublime, and Dan Bylsma talked about him like he was Paul Coffey. I mean, he was in love with the kid. And, you kind of look at the roster, and, Jake McCabe really probably isn't a top 4 defenseman today.
Yeah.
But you look at the roster and you say, okay, maybe they can keep Georges in that top 4 role, assuming he's healthy.
Big assumption.
Right, it is a really big assumption. But does Jake McCabe step in? And has he helped cement himself a spot with the way he's played? I mean, that's one thing I'm curious about.
A good question right now, too, would be who is kind of your top 6 defenseman for the Buffalo Sabres? Because, I mean, like, Jake McCabe, after seeing how Jake McCabe is kind of, I know it's prospect camp again, we said at the start of the podcast, keep everything in perspective, but when you see a guy like Sam Reinhart come in and be dominant, or you see a guy like Jake McCabe really stand out and really show up and just be, better than we last saw him, you think to yourself, maybe this guy can step in and be in the top 6 defensemen. I mean, but again, it's all subjective. Who do you guys have as those top 6 guys right now?
And right now, I actually have just my cocktail napkin sketches. I actually have Ristolainen and Bogosian as their top pairing. I have bracket trade / free agent on the left side of the second pairing, Mark Pysyk on the right side, and then I have a combination of Georges, Kolyakovo, Weber, 5, 6, 7.
So you're okay with 2 righties on the
I'm okay with it, yeah. And I know
Bylsma is too.
Right, and I am a staunch believer in keeping the right lefts I mean, it does affect you when you're a righty or a lefty playing the offside, especially on the blue line.
Yeah.
I think playing forward, it's different. You put a guy on his off wing, especially if you got a pure shooter like Evander Kane, you put him on his off wing, you're probably doing yourself a favor, actually. On the blue line, I like the idea of the left-right breakdown, but I think Ristolainen's really pushing for that top pairing duty, and I think if you put him with Bogosian, one other thing about Edler, and even the Tanev thought, I guess, is that the one other thing that Murray's shown is that he has a propensity to go out and get guys who can affect the team long term. He's not a Band-Aid guy, which is why when I look at defensemen who are on the market, I'm like, well, are they going to go and get, is Keith Yandel an option for them? I don't see the Rangers trading him. He's making the way they went out and got him, but are they going to go get a guy who can only play for 2 years? Is that worth his time? If he's going to make a trade, it's going to be worth for somebody who's going to be there for 3 or 4 seasons, I would guess.
And you bring up McCabe and where he is. When I did something, I think I was just desperate for something to write about a few weeks ago, and I just forget it. Predictions. The way I have it was this was before the Koliakovo signing, and right now I'd put him in the top 6 and dump Weber out. I have Georges Ristolainen as my top pairing just because, again, why not? I mean, you're not going to get – that's my mindset right now. Why not? Because you're not going to get much better right now. Even if you bring in Oduya, you're not going to – you might put him above Georges, but for now, I had Georges and Risto as your top pairing, and I have McCabe playing his way into the second pairing with Bogosian. Maybe he goes up to the top pairing and you have McCabe, Ristolainen top. If the trend of his play from the end of last season to what he did in camp this week continues to training camp and then maybe the beginning of the season, he could be that guy like Zadorov. By the end of the year, he was playing with Risto and he was playing really well with them. So we could have the same thing. Pysyk is, to me, the wild card of it all because he should have been up last year, but there was no need for him to be up last year. This year, maybe he can blossom into that top.
No, I'm just making that face because
you spend every day on it, though.
Yeah. So maybe this year he turns into a top 4 guy, right? And he's in the top 4, and then you can dump somebody down. I think there's so much potential, especially with Pysyk and McCabe, that right now this year you could have a solid top 4 if they continue the trend that they've been on.
The thing with Pysyk that to me is interesting is that they're talking a lot about getting another lefty shot defenseman, somebody to play the left side, and Bausman's being coy about I don't care if they play left or right side, it doesn't matter. Well, it definitely does matter. But Pysyk in Rochester last year spent a lot of time playing the left side as a righty shot with Jerome Leduc on the right side, who's also a righty shot. So to me, I look at it that way, and I say they're ready to put Pysyk as like that top 4 guy if things don't work out the way that they're hoping for, because they have 3 righties, 3 or 4 righties that can jump in at the NHL level. But Pysyk to me is last season he should have been up all year. Right? Once he showed in Rochester that he was by far their best guy back there. I know Chad Ruido put up some great numbers. That's fine, but Pysyk was the guy. He is the guy that's there. 2010 first round pick. He's going to be your guy on the defense pairing. So you have Risto, you have Bogosian, you have Georges, and you have Pysyk. To me, that's your top 4, and then the bottom 2, just do whatever the hell you want to do with it, honestly, because you have Weber, you have Koliakovo, you have Ruido, you have these guys in there where they can fit in any way. But with a guy like Pysyk, though, he's the guy that's going to sneak up on people because nobody's banking on him being the guy in the top 4. But to me, he's absolutely the guy because he showed such poise, such ability, and just played such a quiet, calm game whenever he was in Buffalo last season that you can't say that he's not going to be. You can't say he's not going to be an NHL guy.
Looking at what the Buffalo Sabres were trying to do last year, and obviously we know we all look back on it. I know all 5 of us at some point in time have all agreed on Twitter that Buffalo Sabres were trying to lose as hard as they possibly could last year. When you see a guy like Pysyk come up from Rochester and play in Buffalo, and you go, okay, this guy belongs. And then when he gets sent down, you go, I get why he was sent down. But, I mean, I agree. Pysyk, it's his time. I mean, it was his time last year. He's been ready. But the thing I wonder about Chad Ruedel is he going to be at any point in time an NHLer, or is he just kind of like a fringe guy that they push to the NHL because that's how they got him?
It's a baseball term, but he might be like your quadruple A guy, like great in the AHL. And then you get him to the NHL, and you're like, all right, let's see it. And then sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not, and that's that.
Mark Mancari.
Yeah.
I was going to go with baseball. I was going to say a guy like Jeff Bailey, who he played for the Paw Sox and he was really good. Goes to Boston and nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible that could be the case for him, and he's got to really show it in camp next year. If he wants to be an NHL guy, he's got to go all out. I mean, he was really upset last year when he was sent down to Rochester, and he was one of the first guys that was out of camp last September, and he had a great AHL season. I mean, he was outstanding. He was one of their top guys. It was him, Pysyk, and McCabe were probably their three best guys, which for the Sabres, that's good. You don't want Drew Bagnall being your best guy in the AHL because there's not a lot of future there. For somebody like Ruedel, who's he's still 25, 26, whatever he is, there's still that hope there that maybe he can be your number 6 guy. But for him, he's up against it because he's got 3 right-handed defensemen ahead of him, and if you're going to go strict lefty-righty, that makes it tough. But Biosman's leaving that door open by saying, like, I don't care about lefty-righty. Yeah. If you play your best, and if he shows it in camp, he might stay.
Okay, so I really like Ruedel. I think if he could slot in that 5 to 7 neighborhood one day, I think it'd be a nice win for them. I think he does some really nice things. That he's a righty, and that he's not a blow your doors off offensive player either, I think hurts his chances. I mean, the one thing about Pysyk is that I just pulled the Central Scouting rankings up. He was 7th overall North American skater his draft year. He fell because he had a broken foot. 20. They got him late in the draft in the first round. Very talented, yeah, and we've seen it. I mean, we've seen him when he's been up, and I certainly think that he's deserving of a top 4 role this season. And I'd love if they decide that Mike Weber is no longer a capable NHL defenseman, perhaps, that if Ruedel steps in instead, maybe that's the case. I don't know if the coaching staff or organization looks at it that way. I think Weber still brings some things to the table that are valuable, but I'm one who's rooting for Ruedel, that's for sure. Absolutely. So
I think if it gets Weber off, I don't care what Murray does. If it gets anyone but Mike Weber. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. There's something about him. I watch him play, and there's something when watching him where everything he does on the ice. I don't even care if he scores a hat trick in a game. I'll still find something to complain about.
Apparently, my computer just stopped recording. It just stopped itself. This is how we do things. No, I re-record it. Yeah. Apparently, this is how things work around here. It just does what it wants. But the thing about thank you, I'm just a dumb blogger, Mike. That's at the end of the day.
Explain hero stats to the people. This is the first time I hear hero stats. So anyone that's listening, we may want to explain hero stats to them.
Let me get the.
Is this Mimico Life? Is the hero stats, or is that War Ice?
It's own the puck. Yeah, it's. Yeah, I'm trying to get it popped up here.
He's managed to get the graphs that make sense.
It's well, I'll tell you what, because like I look at it and I don't understand. I'm trying to get the fancy stats, but it's.
I don't get half of them.
Neither do I.
The hero chart, I'm like, oh, yeah. It's like a picture book. Like,
but you get it says it tells you the first line of the chart tells you the time on ice of the game, which is very self-explanatory. It says, okay, look at this guy's a 4th liner, 3rd liner, 2nd liner, top liner. Then it goes individual production, which is just his stats alone, which are just goals, first assist, and then primary points. And then it goes impact on line mates Corsi, which is where I kind of like the CF 60, the CA 60,
I can see the graph on your phone now, and I know exactly.
I get kind of lost at that, but I understand like the way they break it down for people like me who are kind of like, I don't like math that much, but I can look at pictures, it's perfect for me.
One of us at some point, someone needs to write an analytics for dummies book.
Absolutely.
With how everything's going, it won't even be that long. Someone will make bank on an analytics for dummies book.
I try to understand it as much as possible, but there's just I don't get it sometimes.
I gave up.
Maybe that's what Myrtle is doing on his break right now. But a lot of, I've covered this on the Third Man In, Two in a Box podcast at one point, where the dummies, the meatheads, are like, oh, fancy stats don't matter. Fancy stats don't matter. It's the eyeball test. You know what? Try your eyeball test in a scientific environment, and you're going to get your ass laughed out. Stats are based on math, and it's facts. It's just a tool to help you get somewhere. Eyeball test will help you a little bit, but the math is going to help you a lot.
Usually, the teams these days that are building teams around the eyeball test and avoiding the fancy stats are the teams that are terrible.
Toronto.
Well, yeah, maybe old Toronto, but Calgary, Colorado, they're big time on that. Now, here's my hot take contribution. So, hot take warning. Set off the alarms. Hashtag hot take.
We need a siren for this. Something. I could buy Canadian Budweiser thing, but it's $150.
I think if I can get that, if I can get Joe with the hashtag hot take, I may actually be able to clip it and use it as as just whenever someone says hashtag hot take, you just hit the button.
Hashtag hot take. Is that good?
Oh, that's
okay. All right. Some good sound waves there. All right.
On YouTube later.
So here's my hot take on things regarding Mike Weber. He's the wrong guy in the wrong era for Sabres hockey, because you look at what he's done on the ice the last 2 years. Okay, you can be critical of his defense. That's more than warranted. But for what he does for teammates, sticking up, fighting for people, doing a lot of the stuff where it's just all laying everything on the line for the team and the heart, all the intangible stuff that eye test people, go nuts about, and fancy stats people are like, get this guy off my freaking team about. If Mike Weber played for the Sabres 10, 15 years ago, he's a hero. People worship him like Matt Barnaby. And they think he's the greatest guy going. But last year, because he was doing all this stuff, fighting and doing all this stuff, people are like, get this guy off the team. He's terrible. I hate him. To me, Mike Weber is like the ultimate team guy that you want to have on there, because he's going to just do whatever it takes to stick up for your friend. Everybody's got their hands up. They're like, oh my God, I want to do an Elvis Costello reference here. He's the man out of time, because he, for what he doesn't necessarily fit for what the Sabres are doing, but his teammates probably love him. I mean, they gave him the A for one of those last couple of games just because he did all that. And Coletta, same thing. Yeah,
but my only thought is that he's a guy you want in the locker room.
Yeah, that's like the thing I was going to say to echo what you, Chris, are saying, what Joe's saying. It's like Steve Ott, and I know Joe will remember this. What was Steve Ott absolutely noted for? During games, whatever, he does what he does, but after the game, Steve Ott was always the guy to walk to his locker and do interviews like pouring sweat out of his head, jersey's still on, skates still on. Like, I remember one game where he got his nose busted open, didn't go see the doctor after the game. He's bleeding out of his nose. Cool as a cucumber doing post-game interviews. That's the kind of guy Mike Weber is. And I mean, obviously, because it works out perfectly because they're best friends, but I understand what Mike Weber brings to the table. But for this hockey team, it's just, and I know we bash on him on Twitter because it's easy, it's fun, whatever. But for this hockey team, Mike Weber is not the kind of hockey player that fits in this hockey team.
Ideally, and I'll just shout this very quickly. Ideally, on this Sabres team this year, he's your number 7 guy. If somebody gets hurt, you plug him in, and that's that. I think ideally that's what they want to do.
That's what I'm hoping. And you mentioned if Weber's on this team 10, 15 years ago. If Weber's on this team 10 years ago, maybe they win Game 7.
I'm calling the cops. Mike Straw, you have to leave the house.
Is he better than Nathan Page? Is he better than Jeff Gilson?
He's definitely better than Gilson.
Is he better than Doug Janik?
Yes.
Oh, God. Better than all 3 of those guys.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe that.
I've got vodka in the other room. I'm just going to go chug it.
For those people in listening land that have Mike just dropped the mic. He had a good point, and he had to prove it. Okay. Now moving on real quick, a simple question here. What are, as we saw with the prospects camp this week, obviously expectations for Jack Eichel are goddamn bust. Goddamn Davis. What are the expectations right now for hashtag Jack Eichel bust for next season? Obviously, we know he'll play the full season in Buffalo because he signed the deal. Buffalo said, we'll keep you in Buffalo all year. He's not going anywhere. What are the expectations? I'm going to start with Joe, and I'm going to go around the table.
I know. I appreciate it. No, I think ideally he's your Calder finalist. Maybe he wins it. It's going to be tough against McDavid because you're going to get your Canadian votes and whatever, and he's going to have tons of kids to work with there. But I think Eichel, ideally, by midway through the season, he's your number one center. Maybe he pushes for 20 goals, 50, 60 points, because who knows what the scoring is going to be next season. I think that's the neighborhood you want to put him in. People are going to see those numbers and be like, well, geez, he's not like LaFontaine. He's not like McGillney. It's like, well, we're not playing that kind of hockey anymore. So let's dial it back a little bit. If he has like a 60, even 70 point season, I think people just go, hand him the Calder, go crazy with it, and it's perfect.
I agree on your point where he midway through the season, he probably should cement himself as the number one center. From a statistics standpoint, I can almost guarantee if he doesn't have a season where he's a point per game player this year, so many people are going to be writing him off. And I think a 50 to 60 point rookie season is realistic with him.
Point per game is tough.
Yeah, especially nowadays. I mean, look at the Art Ross winners.
87 was Art Ross this year, and that's barely over a point.
Point per exactly, but there's going to be people who get mad. The biggest question with Eichel is, will he sign an autograph for a 10-year-old in the parking lot?
Coming from the man, that question comes from a guy who currently works for the Hockey Writers, where the Evander Kane story came from. So I understand there's probably some tongue-in-cheek action happening right there.
Oh, God, yeah. Like, it is what it is with that. Trust me. As
a guy who collects autographs and knows that, if you ask a guy for an autograph, aside from the one time I asked Kevin Cash for an autograph and he's an absolute asshole, usually they sign.
Yeah, usually, as long as you're not bothering them in front of their family. Like, if they're out to dinner with them in front of their family, why bother? But, yeah, I do that just because it's funny to joke about with me.
You're allowed to.
Exactly. I am allowed to.
You're here, Mike. They're there. You're fine. Yeah.
And when he did the there thing, he put him, like, way up ahead.
I'm not good with the podcast. I'm not good with the voice.
Yeah. But with Eichel,
can't do visual stuff.
Back on topic, if Eichel can show, to me, if he can show up that he is that 200-foot game player, I think that's perfect. You show me that you can play defensive hockey. He did that in the camp.
Well, he did
score goals.
He did shoot a wrist
Too
shot
much
through
defense,
the net
score goals.
Well,
he did shoot a wrist shot to the net.
I know. He's got that power. He went Super Saiyan, clearly.
Ask him that question, please. Ask him about Jack Eichel bust.
Jack Eichel bust?
Are we talking realistic expectations? Okay.
We're all about realistic.
Because I think there's a fair segment of the Sabres fan base who expect him to score 80 points and to win the Art Ross and to be...
And to lead the Sabres to the Cup this year.
And realistically, if he scores 50 points this year in 10 and 40, 20 and 30, however he does it, that would be a terrific start. 50 points, playing second-line minutes, assuming he's playing with Evander Kane on his left wing. Like, just that's what I want to see out of him. I think that's fair. I think it's very, very realistic. It's not putting too much on his shoulders, and it's allowing him to take the appropriate steps forward. So that's what I'm hoping to see.
We probably shouldn't hand the microphone to Tom for what he's looking up right now. He's looking up. I'll
pause it right there. Question I'll shout at you from across the room. Who's his ideal left winger? Is it Kane or is it Molson?
I have it as Kane.
Really?
You
think that's not too many guys that like to carry?
That's the thing, because everyone's talking O'Reilly and Ennis are married already, right?
Well,
more or less.
Here's the question. A question I've had since the moment that Kane showed up is, well, here it's kind of 2 or 3 questions in one. So please follow along. If you get confused, we'll stop. We're not talking about that. The question is first off, does Zemgus Girgensons end up as a center or a right wing? And I follow it with this question because Tyler Ennis and Evander Kane, they won't end up on the same line because a lot of people have Kane on the first line, left wing, Ennis on the right wing, second line, because they both have a penchant for puck handling. How does that end up?
Sorry, it's your house. You're getting skipped. I'm sorry, Tom. My ideal line is Molson, Eichel, Ennis. I think that's my ideal line.
That seems fair.
Because I would go Kane. Thank you. Losing my mind here. Kane, O'Reilly, and find a guy for the right way. Girgensons or Reinhart. Reinhart might almost be better for that because then you have O'Reilly and Reinhart who are good at distributing. O'Reilly's a little bit more defensively responsible, but then you have Kane who can carry, can do what he needs.
But what if you feel that maybe Reinhart needs to start the season in Rochester, which I don't think is going to happen. There's no way you can sell it to the fans that Reinhart needs to go to Rochester. But if he does, is Girgensons, barring a trade, is Girgensons your opening night right winger, first line right winger?
No, if Reinhart starts in the AHL, I think Girgensons is your third line center. I think at that point you're moving. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, because Eichel.
Well, because I think because again, it's one of those things where in 4 or 5 years, Girgensons most likely is your third line center. But I just wasn't sure if you're already going there now.
Yeah.
I think he is without a doubt. He's your third line center today.
I know that the one microphone thing is kind of putting a damper on the whole podcast. I apologize.
So I want to go back to the whole Eichel versus the expectations, and I pull up some numbers.
Uh-oh. Mr. Hashtag hot take.
All right. So 39 goals, 63 assists, 102 points.
All because of Evan Rodriguez.
Hold on. Let me finish. And these are both first picks in the draft. One's a Hall of Famer, one is a future Hall of Famer.
Remember though, Eichel was drafted second overall, so you must tamper with the expectations.
Well, Top picks don't matter. No. 51 goals, 86 assists, 137 points. Sidney Crosby and Wayne Gretzky, respectively. This is what the Sabres fan base is expecting.
That's true.
Because the Sabres pumped 1 and 2 picks up all year. And the expectations are going to be so sky high, and the fact that they're dragging Eichel around town, he's a showcase player.
Let's not. Look at. Let's not. Okay, I promise you. Look at. I will.
Reinhart got the gold tour or the gold sponsor banner tour.
By the way, the key to the city too.
By the way, guys, this podcast is brought to you by First Niagara Bank. If you need a bank in Buffalo, First Niagara Bank is the place to go. I promise you, it's a great place to go. Anyways, getting back to the podcast now. I just want to tell you. We'll get to that question in a second because I know that was a big topic among people of is how much Eichel is too much Eichel. But that's what we call in the podcast business, in the bad podcast business, a cliffhanger. I want to get back to the question at hand, the task at hand about where do people end up, because that's a lot of it is. I mean, I know everybody here, including myself, have wasted a large amount of a forest making up fake lines, going, okay, this guy goes there, that guy goes there. Maybe if they do this guy goes there. So really, I guess the question is at this point, and I don't want to sit here and mock lines, but who are where do people fit on this team? Because there's a lot of questions. The top 6, it's pretty bona fide. Like, okay, these are going to be our top 6 guys.
Do you want fantasy lines? Or do you want ideally?
Ideally, because fantasy, I could go. Hey, look at the Buffalo Sabres will go sign Wayne. The Buffalo Sabres are going to go sign Wayne Gretzky and offer him $25 million to play next season.
For Sidney Crosby, it'll be perfect.
I might need that for an audience.
Mike Weber and a 7th-round pick for Sidney Crosby. They can totally do it. Do it, Sabres. Do it. Come on, Murray.
They need the cap. Well, this is an Xbox.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know, the line thing. You bring up
who on opening night, Mike. Who is your ideal first and second? Because the third and fourth line are going to kind of be.
I don't know. I've always been, I don't know why. I think I'm just stupid. Maybe I've been dropped on the head too many times. I don't know why I'm a David Legwan fan, but I'm a David Legwan fan. I'm dumb. I don't know. But I expect him to be my fourth line center opening night. Some people, for some reason, so many people expect Larson. I think Larson, personally, I don't even know if Larson's going to be in the franchise.
Where does the guy, that's a good question.
That's for later. I don't think even Larson's going to be in the franchise by the start of the podcast, by the way. Whatever.
We're already an hour and 3 minutes, yeah.
But
with all the breaks
you go,
of the podcast, we're an hour and 3 minutes, yeah.
You go top six. For me, I'm still thinking opening night, you have Ennis, you have O'Reilly, Kane, and Ennis as your top line because they're going to try it. I mean, ideally, they're currently your three best players. They're going to try and throw them on the same line. Whether it works or not,
I don't think Chris agrees with you on that.
Of course not. Why would he?
That's why we have him here.
Chris looks like he smelled a skunk. He's shaking his head.
Yeah. And then I think that's going to be your starting line. And then I got Eichel, Molson, and Gergensons as your second.
I want to break this up before we send because it's going to Chris real quick.
I know, and he's going to.
I'm sitting across from Chris.
I'm not even looking his way because I feel like I don't know.
I'm sitting here
staring. Yeah.
I can.
I'm grimacing at the MC Buffalo line.
I can see that. I can see the Chris's face, but like I said, I think and in no particular order, I'm just going to go across. I think obviously Kane, O'Reilly, Ennis, Molson, Gergensons, and I don't know who else. I'm missing a name here, but that's kind of your ideal top six. Everyone else, you figure it out. But Chris, I want to get your thoughts because, like I said, you're making the funny faces. We want to see what you have to say.
So,
Mike, you're a dumbass.
No, my thought is actually related to what Joe said in having too many guys who can carry. Because Tyler Ennis lives and dies carrying the puck and being a possession driver. Like, he's your point guard. He's the one who's starting the plays. And for the most part, he's the one finishing them, too. So you look at Ennis and Kane almost as that same type of player, and you got to figure out, okay, who do you want Eichel playing with? Who do you want O'Reilly playing with? Who's going to distribute to who? And I just look at it, let Molson hang with Ennis. They've done some nice things together. Right. Yeah. And then you figure Kane, and with Eichel being a righty, Kane on the left wing. And I know that, like you said, Joe, it's not an ideal pairing because they're both focal points. But when I think about it, one way or the other, it's like, do you want Eichel playing with Kane and letting those two try to figure out who's going to carry, or do you want O'Reilly playing, or do you want Eichel playing with Ennis and figuring out which of those two are playing together? And personally, and I hope Brian Duff's listening because I'm going to boil his blood. Ennis is not a player I see as someone who makes his line mates better. I don't think he makes his line mates better for the most part.
Even though, mind you, on two historically bad Buffalo Sabres teams, and historically bad all time, he was hands down the best player on both teams. Then I guess here's a question for you, looking in deeper. I know I don't want to get too deep here because we've limited time here, but what kind of, it's because it's your house, Tom. What kind of player do you see Tyler Ennis most successfully being on this Buffalo Sabres? Because, like I said, I think looking at prospective lines for next season, the most sense to me is you put Kane on one line. I have to go to the bathroom, but I was coming around to make it easier for him because I'm walking away. We can probably take a break here in a second. Because when we take a break in the podcast land, you just stop it and say we're going to take a break, and you come back 5 seconds later.
Better than live radio.
Exactly. And we can curse too, which is even better. But
you can curse on series.
We're not that fancy, okay?
Well, I'm just showing off
Joe,
my controversial line.
Joe, controversially, do you want to be on the microphone?
Well, we can do it after we.
Honestly, Joe's lines are more or less what I see happening, but with O'Reilly and Eichel flipped more or less.
Well, I guess right now, hey guys, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a break because we've all been sitting around here for about 45 minutes. This is okay. Look at right now. I think if anything, right now we're cliffhangering ourselves because we're cliffhangering ourselves at this point because in the podcast line, like on the radio, breaking breaking the fourth wall right here. We're all gonna split, go walk around, have a couple beers, hang out for a few minutes, and let our voices rest. But when you're listening to us on the computer over at BLTDsports.com or GearNetwork.com or on Spreaker, wherever it may be, it's going to be about a split second because we're going to stop. I'll put some music in, and then the talking will start again. So the magic of radio, as Joe says. We will be right back. Just a second. Hang around. Enjoy the music. We'll be right back. Do you enjoy listening to Better Live Than Dead, but you're not always by your laptop to hear it on GearNetwork.com? Not to worry, we've got you covered. Better Live Than Dead and all other Gear Network podcasts can now be heard on iHeartRadio, iTunes, in the Zune Marketplace, on SoundCloud, Spreaker, Stitcher Radio, and on TuneIn Radio. So make sure you get one of the aforementioned apps to stay up to date with the latest Gear Network podcasts.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Perez here, telling you about FanDuel's one-day fantasy baseball leagues. Every day you pick the player you want, you can pick a whole team, and play for real money against other users. FanDuel has over 20,000 one-day leagues, so joining in is never an issue. Also, there's no daily commitment, so you play whenever you want. The best part? Over $2 million in prizes every single day. And if you sign up through GearNetwork.com/FanDuel, you help support the network and keep this podcast free.
You are listening to Better Live Than Dead.
Hey, we're back. We're back to the podcast, but I have a question for you, Tom.
What's that?
I'm going to put the microphone in your face in just a second. What is reason number 69 why you don't like, or why you think Jack Eichel's a bust?
Because he's a penis.
That's fair. I guess we're being forced back in. I was enjoying one of those. I've never had. I'll be honest. Excuse me. It's not your father's root beer. How much? What's the alcohol content on that? Because it does. Jesus.
Ryan's gonna be drunk.
No, I've already passed that bridge, come back, and then kind of tried to pass that bridge again, so we're fine. But I haven't had soda in forever, so like drinking that, it was just like drinking soda, but apparently it's alcohol, so that's really good.
By the way, for the people that are listening, I do not think Eichel's a bust. I just think the people that think Eichel's a bust are a bunch of assholes.
No, the reason, look at this point, we need to think Jack Eichel's a bust. Like every time Jack Eichel scores a goal, I promise you, for at least the first couple months, it's going to be hashtag
More like Bustamania.
Eichelmania hashtag bust. Because that's what I'm going to do, because you have to do it. But before the break, which was I think 45 minutes ago at this point, like in podcast land, when you hear this back, when you listen back, when you guys listen back, like Joe left with Joe disappeared, went in the house, and we were all kind of sat around and talking about a bunch of stuff. So it feels like forever, but
Joe didn't want to be around us. He had to go to his luxury suite, his what is it? His own personal trailer to get pampered for this.
Listen, when you have a sauna available to you, you have to use the sauna. And when you have bottle service in the sauna, well, I mean, come on.
That's fair enough. I mean,
Touche.
that's how you do it. But
He had a lot of red M&Ms.
Well,
Red M&Ms, purple Skittles. That's what
yeah. Joe's rider. I'll tell you what. To get Joe here in the Polish patio today, I'll tell you what, it was difficult because the things that he wanted were outlandish, crazy almost.
he wanted a fridge in the locker room.
Only two people in Buffalo allowed to have fridges in locker rooms: Mario Williams, Joe Yerdon. That's all. But before we hit the break, well, the faux break, the 15 seconds of music that played, and then we come back. So technically, in the 15-second break, guys. We wanted to talk about the last thing before we go. What are your ideal lines? Oh, I mean, because obviously we all know hockey. Lines change every game, every shift, whatever. Yes. Welcome to hockey, Tom.
Yes, I learned something
But opening night, what do you guys feel the line should be? Who wants to start? Joe? Joe?
Start with me. Let me get my notepad out.
I'm waiting. That's why I offered it. You ready? I present you Joe Yerdon.
Hang on. I had to get my moleskin out here and get everything going. Well, for me, I look at it this way, and forgive anybody who I may have omitted on this, but if we're just talking forward lines, I say your top line is Kane, O'Reilly, McGinn, which is the controversial part there with McGinn. Reasoning. You want the reasoning? Because O'Reilly and McGinn were lights out in Colorado. They're best friends. They have the instant chemistry. I think if if we're talking, yeah, if we're talking opening night lines, and this isn't what they're going to be at game 82, but if you're talking opening night, you want the best possible chemistry for what you got going. McGinn and O'Reilly have it going on, and Kane is the perfect guy because he can carry, he'll do the offensive stuff that O'Reilly and McGinn. McGinn drives the net. O'Reilly can distribute, play defense, do the whole thing. He's fine. So that's where I think that goes. Line 2, Molson, Eichel, Ennis, because Eichel and Ennis, that's the debate because both guys like to have the puck. Ennis a little bit less so than Kane. I think Ennis you can make things work a little bit better for him. Plus, I look at it like Ennis can help Eichel score more goals than if you want Eichel to be a distributor, that's fine. But I think when you're drafting a guy like Eichel, you want him to score some goals.
Because as you mentioned, like we said about Ennis, is in the past 2 years,
he's the goal guy.
He's been the goal guy in two of the worst teams in Sabres history in recent hockey history. He's been the guy.
Yeah. It's back-to-back 20-goal years. He's going to be, I think with the influx of talent, he's going to be better. I think he's a guy that could push for 30. I mean, I think 25 is the ultimate goal, the ultimate bar to set for him. But I think if things go perfect, if things go right, he could be a 30-goal guy. Then from there, the bottom 6, these lines are going to be pretty fluid. But I think a third line of Foligno, Girgensons, and Larson works out pretty well.
That sounds good.
Because you get, Girgensons plays hard. He plays everybody difficult. You can put that out as a checking line if you want and still be able to score plenty of goals from those guys. Foligno, you still need to figure out, what he's going to become. Larson is a guy where, he's better offensively than maybe he is defensively, but he's not bad defensively. And I think that's where that line works out pretty well. Because if you have those guys together, I think that's a line that's going to work very hard. Larson and Girgensson certainly, and then Foligno. If you're able to motivate him into becoming what he probably should be, maybe he becomes a 20-goal type guy. That's the highest bar to set for him. But if it works out, great. If it doesn't, bottom 6 is basically interchangeable, and that's where we go to the fourth line: Delorier, Legwand, Brian Gianna. I know it sounds bad, fourth line, but considering Gianna was playing on your second line last year, if you can have him be on your fourth line and you can have skill, you can have scoring, and have that kind of ability while still being able to play hard, because Legwand and Delorier are going to do that, works out pretty good for me. And, Gianna, I think, he could end up anywhere between the second line right wing or the fourth line. Like any of those 3 lines, he could be the guy.
And the thing about Gianna, too, is that once you lose the stigma of... Like, the thing about Sabres fans is we've been so you beat into our brains that, the first, second, third, fourth line guys. But if you can get a guy like Gianta on the bottom 6, where he may not be playing as much, but he's still talented enough to make a difference. Because I feel like at this point of his career, Brian Gianta is not a top 6 guy. I'm sure everybody here can agree. And last year when he was thrust into that role, it wasn't good. But if you can get the, as we mentioned, like stuff like the leadership, the intangibles. If you get the intangibles off the ice, plus some decent hockey playing on the ice, maybe Gianta being in a bottom 6 role isn't a bad idea. I know your lines they may shock some people, but anything. I mean, it's at this point, I'm glad to. And before we move on to the other 3 guys here, for me personally, I'm glad to see that it's not so crazy to think that guys like, McGinn can be in the top 6 or Gianta can be in the bottom 6, because everything at this point in time really is fluid, because so much has happened and so much yet still has to happen. I mean, I know there's been a lot of rumors like, maybe you trade a guy like Foligno, who has a high ceiling but hasn't really done much for, a top 4 defenseman if you can get him in a package, or so be it. But there's so much happening, and that's the fun part about this offseason.
I mean, before we went to break, I kind of touched on it. I brought up how I have Kane, O'Reilly, Ennis, and then Molson, Eichel, Girgensons, and I got the looks from Chris over here. But when I look at my bottom 6, I mean, it's basically almost what Joe said to a point, where I have I don't have Larson because I'm of the believer I don't even know if he'll be in the organization, so I just kept him out in my mind that he won't even be here. But Foligno, Reinhart, Gianta is your third, and then Delorier, Legwand, and McGinn is your fourth. I mean, even that line, Delorier, Legwand, and McGinn has the potential to produce. Reinhart, you want to see take Reinhart with Gianta on a line, I think, could be perfect for a guy like Sam, just because of it's your captain, and then Foligno, who knows, who's been around enough to where I think those are the perfect combination of veterans to put around a guy like Reinhart, and then Leguan, the middle guy for Delorier. I mean, you're going to get Leguan's not that great in his defensive zone. I said earlier I was a fan of him, but with McGinn there, you can still get production on fourth line. It wouldn't be out of my mindset to say that a fourth line of Delorier, Leguan, and McGinn could produce at least one 10-goal scorer this year. It could easily happen.
That seems very fair.
So mine have been kind of filtered out throughout the podcast so far, but I have Molson, O'Reilly, Ennis, and then Kane, Eichel, Reinhart, actually, my top 6. And just for some of the reasons I had mentioned earlier with, I think, because one way or the other you want Ennis and Kane separated, obviously, and then you got to kind of pick your poison with O'Reilly or Eichel, whoever's centering them. For my bottom 6, and this is kind of interchangeable too, I guess, between my second and third lines. I have McGinn, Gergensons, and Gianta in the third line, but I could easily see Reinhart and McGinn swapping positions, and you could, if you wanted to push Gergensons to the left wing there, and then Reinhart centers them, if you're playing with the Lego pieces, so to speak. And then the fourth line just kind of fills out on its own because you have a mix of, just in terms of the leftovers, I have Foligno, Leguan, Larson, Delorier, and McCormick. So depending on how those lines filter out and what kind of lineup they're going with, it's very, very interchangeable. I mean, on the little notes I took was just Foligno, Leguan, Larson, but that's just kind of taking the best of what's left and putting them together.
I've kind of completely forgotten McCormick was even a part of this roster.
Well, he's got the blood clots, yeah.
I just don't even consider him. If anything, he's in Rochester, or he's your press box guy that'll come in every now and then.
Or when you want to, or a guy like McCormick seems like the type of guy, like if you play, I know, like for instance with Boston this year, we always say it every year, but looking at Boston, how they've toughened up and they want to be like, remember a couple years ago when the Buffalo Sabres, when Darcy Regier said, we want to be tougher to play against. That will be Cody McCormick's the guy like you put in the fourth line with Delorier and just to be tough as hell to play against. But
Lucic out of Boston, there's no need now, I guess, right?
Zach Ronaldo, man. Apparently, in some NHL parallel universe, Zach Ronaldo is worth a third-round pick. So I mean, at this point, anything is possible. Like Mike.
Anything is possible.
Yeah, like Kevin Garnett once said, anything is possible, my friend. Who wants the microphone? Tom,
what are your lines?
Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Ask me in September.
Okay. Well, you know what? It is a fair point, though, because. But if you think about it, I mean, if there is a trade, and now obviously the two most tradable assets, and in everyone's minds at this point are Foligno and Larson.
Now, here's a question I have for you, because I know those two guys are on the block in most fans' minds. I mean, not as far as we know they're not, but. Is it more logical, do you guys think? And I know I said we went after the lines, but this talk gets the best of me, I guess. But do you think that maybe the Sabres are more likely to go trade current assets for a top 4 defenseman, or go out and sign a guy like Oduya and say, look, we're going to push you into a role. We're gonna ask more of you for a couple years, then we're gonna kind of bump it back at the end.
If I had to pick between the two, I'd say it's more likely he signs some waiver pickup on October 1st. There's no need to trade assets you have for somebody.
What if it's a young guy from a team that...
If it's a young guy, sure, but if you're just trying to get an older veteran as a stopgap while your guys develop for 2-3 years or whatnot, then it's no point.
Well, that's the overarching question then. Is he going with a Band-Aid or is he going with one?
Yeah, like I said, if you're going with the idea of you're going to make the playoffs this year, do something. If you're not, then there's no point.
Okay, so apparently we had more computer issues. What a shock! That's the mindset of the podcast. That's computer issues. Hey, I don't have a lot of money. I'm just saying. Computer doesn't work very well. I'll try. I'll get a camera next time. That doesn't break.
Did you plug it and unplug it back in?
Did I restart the computer? Yeah. Did I restart the computer? Yeah. We should have a camera taping us. So the simulcast is like 7.5 hours long. The podcast is like 25 minutes, and people are like, "What the hell are you doing the other 6 hours?" Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
You know.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's good.
But it worked.
I'm glad I'm on the record then.
I don't know what you know. What I think now between now and we've got a few months because the Sabres hockey season doesn't start for a while. But this
I thought it started in like 2 weeks. Friday.
Mike, please shut your mouth, kindly. I would like to have this happen again. I mean, this seems to be successful. Next time, I know now because asking broad questions will get us everywhere because everyone has a different mindset. Everyone has a different direction. So maybe next time I need to get more pointed questions. But I also need to invest probably in better podcasting equipment because I'll tell you what. There's nothing that irritates me fucking more in this world, in this wonderful fucked up world, than when I'm talking on a podcast, have a great idea going, a great conversation, and the fucking microphone's or the computer. Like, I'm not even kidding you. I'm sitting here, not touching the laptop. I look down and it just stopped. Why did that happen? I don't know. Breaking down the fourth wall. It's not Audacity. It's this computer. Because I'll tell you what, this computer's garbage. Drop the mic. That's a pipe bomb.
Is it garbage?
Hi, Colt Cabana. That's a pipe bomb right there. Oh, it's terrible, dude. I'm glad you got that reference. At least one wrestling fan in here. Okay. This thing is garbage, and everybody knows that. Everyone agrees with me. Tom agrees with me. Hot Take Man agrees with me.
We've had many stops.
Yeah, I mean we've taken breaks, but like we've
Natural breaks, but also
unnatural breaks. Like when we're talking, and all of a sudden, it's going to be very fun to listen to the end product. Yeah. It's gonna be interesting to listen to the final, and I'm gonna listen to the final product because there's one thing I do about my podcast. I never listen back to them because everyone thinks they sound goofy, whatever. I don't like to listen to myself because usually I listen to myself and go, "Fuck, are you thinking, you moron? Like, why did you say that?" But exactly, but exactly, you go back. But I'm interested to find out how this ends up because this has been a 4 or 5 hour adventure. We're at almost an hour and 30 minutes of a podcast, so I'm really not sure.
This is not as mega as I had hoped. I thought we were going to go 6 hours. We're going to have the breakfast draft. And
we're getting there. That's how we're closing the show out. We're getting there in a second. And it's not even a draft. It's more of just a question. But the thing is broken. We've broken. We've been here for half a day almost. We're getting tired.
This was an excuse to day drink. That's all it was.
Day drinking is always a good excuse to day drink. Now the last question, as Tom brought it up, because we have to close this thing out. Because again, if it's breaking, we're not going to run it out for 10.5 days. Because we have to fix it. Because if not, we're just talking to a computer that's not recording us. I mean, we have to do something. But the one question, and TJ and LJ Tuckman not here to answer the question, unfortunately, because he was the one who brought the idea up. But I have to ask you, in the spirit of hockey, first overall pick. If there was ever a breakfast draft, pick your favorite breakfast food, and you had the first overall pick, who would your top pick be and why? Personally, and I'll go me.
Do a lottery to see who.
No, we're just gonna go like, say for instance,
top of your board.
everybody, like you're a bad team.
I have my war room. I've got my board. I've got my war room. I've got my board. Who's number one on my board?
Exactly. Like you're after the prospects have the prospects camp in Foodville, and you're exactly after you've eaten all the breakfast, you go, okay, now I know who may want to be the number one overall pick.
Who's the winner of the breakfast draft?
I personally, hold on, because it's just stopped again. Oh, we're recording again. It just stopped for a second. I need to get a new computer. Guys. Okay, but. It might be. With your poll as a real writer, because we're just kind of like, Mike's a real writer. We're all kind of just like, we're bloggers. Like I tell people at the end of the day, I'm just a dumb blogger. What do I know? But maybe with Joe's poll, we could get a Kickstarter where we can get this can be a.
Let's get computers for all of them.
This can be a Buffalo.
Books for all.
No.
You know what? Maybe if
computer that works.
If someone does something, maybe we could be like the Indians where they said, I want a MacBook and a 50-gallon tub of lube, and the Apple pays for it. But who knows? If you don't know about that, go look it up. It's really funny. But
love Apple.
The first for me, the top of my board, French toast, because it's versatile. You can have it at any point in time with anything, any day, any time of the day. With, like I said, with anything, it goes great. That's all I gotta say. Tom. Tom, go.
The 4 horse meals of the egg porkopolis. An astonishing onslaught of protein that includes 12 egg scramble, bacon, sausage, ham, hash browns, and chicken fried steak, and a giant tower of buttermilk pancakes.
So that's your thing.
No, actually, omelets is my thing. Okay. My girlfriend says waffles.
Okay, that's fair.
And
those are fair. Because when I originally did this, I thought waffles, but then I thought about it.
Well, omelets are multiple foods. You have to pick one food.
Well, it's a meal. It's a meal. It's like a thing. Like one. Like if you can order one thing.
Do I get a real
Like you can order. Like you can order an omelet. I order French toast.
Damn it.
Okay, well, I'm gonna pass.
Go with what you think.
I thought we were picking, like an item that makes up your breakfast.
It's an item, though.
But an omelet can be made up of multiple items.
Cares.
I'm going with bacon. Because bacon is king. You can have have bacon in an omelet. You can have bacon by itself. You can have bacon wrapped around your sausage.
I feel like, and I said this on Twitter when it first started. I first said it, and I was waiting for you to mention bacon. I feel like bacon is like a utility man, a baseball, because it's not a bad thing, but bacon goes with everything.
That's why I'm taking it.
But that's what I'm saying. It may not be as valuable as something that can hold its ground on its own. Because bacon, like I had a hot dog earlier with a bacon on it, but I wouldn't just order bacon.
Oh, I would order bacon.
You would just eat a plate of bacon.
I would absolutely eat a plate of bacon.
You are a goddamn American hero.
This is tough, but I'm going to go Belgian waffles.
What fruit?
Why though?
Yes.
What fruit?
Important add in here. What fruit?
It varies. Sometimes I'm in the mood for raspberries. Sometimes in the mood for kiwi. Very weird, but delicious.
I've never had kiwi.
It's amazing. Why? Do you not, when you eat a Belgian waffle, homemade Belgian waffle, and you top it with fruit, you feel like you're eating a fancy breakfast. And I'm a white-collar, high-class society man.
I'm a white guy.
Belgian waffles is a very white breakfast food. So yeah.
So yeah, I am a white guy, so I'm gonna take the Belgian waffles. No butter, just fruit.
Okay, that's fair. Joe.
All right. Well, Ryan, I'll give you full credit. You took what would be the top of my board. French toast is the ultimate for me because you can do a lot with it. But I'm going to go off the board to my number 2 pick, to pancakes. Because pancakes can be anything. Pancakes can be the silver dollar size. They can be manhole cover size. You can put fruit on them. You can put syrup. You can put butter. You can put anything you freaking want. You can roll a freaking sausage up in it. You can do anything you want with pancakes. Pancakes can be perfect. You can throw chocolate chips. You can throw blueberries in it. You can throw freaking strawberries in it. Who cares? Top it off with marshmallows, whipped cream, anything. Pancakes are your most versatile. They're your number 1.
I must say too. First off, my wonderful girlfriend made crepes a couple weeks ago, and
excellent choice,
dude. My brother said to me. My brother actually called me. He goes, "So what did you do today?" I was like, "I had crepes," and he goes, "So you just had really thin pancakes that you rolled up and ate?" And I'm like, "Shut your mouth," because I put.
I love those things.
Well, you put some brown sugar on it. You put some syrup on it, but Sarah. Sarah wants to make her BLTD #Megacat debut. So please, before you speak, include your Twitter handle, and we will include you in the podcast.
Okay, I'm Sarah. My handle is Sarah Jean, and my one and only contribution to the Megacat podcast is that my vote is for the Bloody Mary.
But why though?
Why the fuck not?
Uh-oh. I tried to grab the microphone back too fast, and you know what? It may do the computer well at this point, but as we've learned, breakfast draft is important. The Sabres are going to be better next year. Jack Eichel's not going to score a million points, although I would die if, I'll tell you what real quick. If Jack Eichel scores 69 points next year,
nice.
Exactly. A couple years ago, the Red Sox in 2011 were horrible, and I was openly rooting for them to lose the last few games of the season. They won that season. I'm not mad about that year for one reason. The Red Sox finished the season with 69 wins.
Nice.
And if Twitter taught me one thing, it's be a fucking child.
Penis!
And love it. Because I'm just enjoying. Like, I go to Hess now, and in the front window of Hess, it says fountain drinks, any size, 69 cents. And I almost laugh every time I walk in the store. I can't help it. You tweet anything about 69, every time someone retweets or someone responds, nice.
I know what I'm doing from now on once a day.
Now you know. Mike has.
What have I been doing trying to keep professional on that
We've
shit?
taught someone something new. But I want to say we've got Tom at Husaria, Chris at 2ITB _ Buffalo, Mike at Mike Straw writes, Joe Yerdon at Joe Yerdon, Sarah at Sarah Jean, myself Sarah _Jean. I apologize. Myself at Wolf BLTD. This has been the inaugural BLTD Megacast #BLTD Megacat.
Unfortunately, my cats cannot be on the podcast, but
They don't speak English and they don't have thumbs, but we're working on it. We are working on it.
we need to find Maya.
We'll be back sometime soon, I think. I have a feeling this will be back. Next time, hopefully better equipment, because if not, I think Joe, Mike, and Chris and Tom may beat my ass if next time I come back with bad equipment. It's only fair. I don't blame them at all, but yeah, absolutely.
Get off the stage.
But if you've stuck around this long, thanks for sticking around. Thanks for tuning in, whatever it may be.
I made it better.
We'll catch you sometime soon. As always, we are better live than dead. You are not. Have a go, my friends. We'll see you soon.
Bye. Hey, cats.